Hey y'all, welcome to Coyote Traffic School podcast number 8, episode number 8. This episode, we're going to be talking about bedding your traps. I got a question the other day around bedding, and just kind of want a brief overview of bedding and how I bed and what your options are. So bedding is pretty straightforward, but there can be some different things, and from a beginner standpoint, some things is helpful to know. So, when I talk about bedding, I'm talking about predator trapping, coyote trapping, putting footholds in the dirt and around, primarily sets like dirt hole sets, flat sets, things like that. So not water trapping per se. We're talking about predator trapping, dry land trapping. So to start with, your bedding may be the most crucial aspect of your set. Because if that trap moves in any way while an animal steps on it and doesn't step on the pan, then you're educating that animal. And depending on what kind of what it is, that can really set you up for failure. You get what's called a digger coyote or even a digger coon. An animal that he gets to recognize. He sees your pattern of, all right, there's a hole and there's some dirt out in front of it. There's a trap right there, so I'm fixing to dig it up. So when you're bedding a trap, that like I said, that's probably the most important aspect of setting that trap. If you're going to take time anywhere, make sure you take time when you're bedding to make sure that trap is solid in the ground, and that if you press anywhere other than that pan, that trap does not fire. So, a couple of ways that you can kind of help yourself in ensuring that. So one way that, one thing that I've heard some old timers say is, dig your bed a little bit deeper. Some people really like, some people generally do, set their traps and make their sets where it's kind of flush with the ground. And that's kind of the scenario I've seen that, older people say, if you bed your trap, dig it down a little bit deeper, make it a little dished out area right there. That's less opportunity for the animal to step on the jaws, and hopefully that dish or that little bowl looking, kind of points that animal's foot more towards your pan, because the odds of it, coyotes less likely in our minds anyways. I've never talked to one, but a coyote's less likely to step on a vertical portion. He's going to hopefully go toward that center of the bed, which is the lowest portion of the bed, which is where your pan is. So digging your trap a little bit deeper. If you're having problems with animals digging up your sets, digging up your traps, try that. That's a good initial starting point. Make sure you're bedding solidly, but also when you dig your beds, dig your bed a little bit deeper. And if you dig your hole as small as possible, that's going to help you, again, just to keep the less opportunity for your trap to wobble. So if your trap fits just perfectly in that hole, there's less chance for it to wobble. And having consistency, using the same kind of trap, can really help that a lot, because you can get in kind of a groove of, all right, this is the shape I need to dig my hole every time. If you've got 2 or 3 different kinds of traps, and I say that knowing that, I know there's a lot of people that are cobbling together a trap line, or, they're buying traps as they can, or buying used traps. So, use what you got and set traps how you got to set them. But if you can get to the point where you've got all one type of trap, I think that's going to improve your efficiency at setting your traps and putting your sets in, and also, being able to get that trap bed to your trap to just fit in there just perfectly is going to be a big plus. And then so the one thing that I do, I try to dig my hole as small as possible, just small enough where my trap will sit in there. So then I'll set my trap down in the bed, and of course you're going to drive your stake underneath it. So depending on what kind of stakes you use, you may need to dig the center out a little bit more. If you're using rebar and you're going to have a nut on top of that rebar, of course with rebar you may be able to drive it down a little bit deeper, but you may need to dig that center out a little bit more than the outside edges of the bed. The same with with chain, because depending on how much chain you use, that chain's going to pile up, and you've got chain on the bottom of the trap anyway. So that's always something to keep in mind. Is you may be better off digging the center of your trap bed a little bit deeper. And then also, if you're using cable stakes, one thing that always helps is to drive that cable stake down to where the cable is fully underground, because that cable sticking up can really wreak havoc and give your trap a little bit of a springy bounce to it. So, and one just helpful tip I found with that scenario is if you drive your stake in, and for whatever reason you're a little bit concerned, and so you pull it up to set on it, and it comes up a little bit, but it doesn't come up enough to concern you with it being able to hold. Sometimes I'll take the tip of that cable and just bend it over and tuck it back down into the hole that the driver made, and that'll kind of help that. Usually you don't have any other issues there until you make a catch, and then, like I said, as that stake gets set and you've got a little tag end of your cable that you got to do something with. So in general, make your bed a little deeper in the center, and then I just put I got my trap set, I put it in there and just kind of try to press it down, wiggle it down, and then see where it may rock or where it may give. And if it does rock, if it rocks significantly, if I press on this side and it goes down and goes up on the other side, then I know I need something under this side. So I'll take a little dirt clump or dirt clod or just some dirt and put under there. Press it in there good and do the same thing. If you're having a lot of trouble with that, sometimes I'll take the trap all the way out of the bed and just get my dirt sifter and sift some dirt over the bed to give it give it a little layer of soft dirt. Then you stick that trap in there and push it down hard, and that gives you something to kind of push the trap into to help it to bed firmly. And so hopefully that can help. Then so once I've gotten, when I put the trap in the bed, I push it down in there and I try to wiggle it and push it and press it as firm as I can. When I think it's good, I'll take my finger and push on kind of the corners of the jaws all the way around, make sure that trap doesn't rock. If it rocks, I'm spending more time to bed it to make sure I get it bedded solid, whether that's tucking something underneath the jaw or whether that's sifting more dirt over top of it. And so another thing I'll do if it is a little bit wobbly is I'll go ahead and sift my dirt over to the top of the trap. I'll brush out so I know where the pan is, and I'll take my hands just like this, with the pan being in kind of the center between my finger and my pointer finger and my thumb, and I'll just press down all around that trap, hard as I can, just pressing down, trying to pack that dirt in around that trap and try to make that trap solid, more solidly bedded, steering clear of the pan. Let off and press again on the corners where I know the jaws are and see if it moves any. If it does still move, or one option, so backing up just a little bit, there's another setting method that I've seen Mark Zager, the way he kind of sets his traps up is he will dig his bed out smaller than it requires for the trap. So the trap's actually bigger than his initial bed, and he'll dig it really deep. He digs it deep so that water can funnel through and your trap is not and flow down, and your trap is not sitting in water. So he'll dig it extra deep, and he digs it real narrow. Then he'll take his trapping hammer and hammer out around the edges of that bed to where it's just big enough for his trap to sit in. So he kind of sets his trap in there. Then what he'll do is take his hammer again and hammer around the edges of the bed, trying to press the bed in on the trap. And so kind of almost like a power bedding that trap to kind of lock it in place where it can't move. And so that's what I was going to say with the other scenario. If you're just sifting dirt over it and bedding it like that, if the trap is still moving, that's another option. Take your hammer and tap around the edge of the bed, especially where it's moving at, to try to lock that trap in place and get it more solidly. Let's see, and really I think that's the majority of what I had there. Like I said, your bedding is probably the most critical part. There's people that swear by scent not being an issue, and they set traps with their hands while they're smoking a cigarette and spitting snuff, and I would say they may be sloppy on the scent control side It may be costing them coyotes, but they're probably bedding solid. And so that's probably where they're kind of making up for their sloppy scent control. So they'll swear by that, and they catch coyotes. There ain't no doubt. There's great trappers, always been great trappers that kind of ignored what everybody thinks you should do, and they still catch a lot of game. So I myself am of the opinion that I'm going to try to put everything I can in my favor of catching an animal, catching that coyote, even the wariest coyote. So I'm going scent control, and then next thing I'm bedding. I say all that to say I think bedding and bedding solidly is your number one thing. I would say that's your number one priority when putting your set in. And so, like I said, that can be accomplished several ways, and there's several different things, different ways you can make sure your trap is bedded firmly. Another thing that I'll do, really before I even read about the way Mark Zager does it with his hammer, is I just use my hand. And if I'm pressing that trap in and trying to get it solid and it's still wiggling just a little bit, just pounding around the edge of that trap bed. Like I said again, just trying to press that dirt in and kind of almost pinch that trap in place to hold it firm. Another thing I was thinking about was leaving your loose jaw. Do you want it flat, or do you want it kind of up, kind of almost like loaded? And I really don't think it matters. And I'll do it, I may do it both ways or any way. One good thing if you're in really, fairly soft ground is if you will flip your loose jaw up when you're bedding your trap and dig your trap bed a little bit smaller, so you get your trap fairly solidly bedded, and then take your loose jaw and flip it back down to where it's kind of sitting on top of the dirt. If that dirt's soft enough that you can just kind of push it down and push it in to the dirt just a little bit, that'll kind of also help lock your trap in place. And having it sitting up a little bit, I don't think is going to hurt you, because that's less travel that your jaws have got to go to catch the animal. But I don't think you're in any detriment if you got your trap bedded perfectly level with your jaws. So like I say, I never consciously try to do it one way or the other, but if I'm setting and the ground's hard, or there's some reason that I'll leave that trap jaw up just a little bit, I don't get hung up on that. I don't hesitate with that. I don't worry about that. I just let it roll and hopefully catch coyote. So anyway, this is probably a quick one, but I hope that's useful. Hope going through the bedding is useful. If you are getting dug up, first of all, of course, look for tracks. Your most likely culprits, in my mind, I always think of raccoons. Raccoons, just their little grubby hands are always feeling around, and they can feel real well, and their fingers and all. And a lot of times if I got a trap dug up, it's dug up and flipped upside down, and I usually assume that that's a coon. But definitely coyotes can, if they know you're if they step on that trap and it wiggles a little bit, they know something's up. Either they're going to take off or they're going to dig it up. Either way, you got a problem on your hands, because now that animal's associating danger with the smells and the sights of your trap and your set. And so if he goes down the road and smells that same smell again, he's probably going to steer clear of it, or he's going to go try to dig it up. And if he tries to dig it up, there's a chance he may get caught. But if he just keeps on going down the road, he's getting educated, and that's something you don't want. One option, while we're talking about it, one option for trying to beat those critters, especially if they're time and again digging up your trap, and it's kind of this is nothing new by any means. This is a pretty old school, kind of standard method for catching a digger coyote or something like that, is if you're having one that's consistently digging up the same set, go back and remake that set just like you always do. Back off 10 inches or so and set you another trap, maybe even set 2 traps. But you need to blend those in perfectly, where that animal comes in, and bedding is even more critical with that, because you don't want that animal to realize that something's been done with that other dirt, the other location. You want him focused on where your trap is and kind of booby trap him or sucker him into thinking that he's going to come and dig up your trap, steal your bait or whatever, but he gets caught in one of those other traps. Blending in is the key, and making sure that that thing looks looks like nothing was ever there, nothing ever happened, that's your key to suckering them in. But anyway, that's a good option if you are having trouble with those. So don't let those those guys can really get to you and get in your head. If you are having issues with that, don't stay on a property, or don't spend a lot of time on those. If you've got other areas to trap, just consider that seed for next year, and hope that you don't give them the opportunity to teach us the young of next year what you're doing, or else you may have a little bit tougher time. But anyway, hope that was useful. Hope y'all are practicing your bedding. That's definitely something that can help you on the trap line. During season when you're out trying to get your traps in the ground, is if you practice a little bit, if you're not real familiar with it, just getting your process down and streamlining the way you set your traps is going to save you time at each set, which is going to get you more sets in and down the line. So it's definitely a good thing, worthwhile to practice and practice bedding your traps, making sure they're solid, and that's going to lead to catching more game out there on the line. So hope y'all are getting ready. It's coming fast. So thanks for watching. Hey, I just wanted to say thanks for watching, thanks for following, thanks for listening, ever how you're consuming this. And if you want to show some support, I appreciate your support of just watching, leaving comments, and interacting with me. If you want to show a little support and help support the podcast, the YouTube channel, and the trapping endeavors and us bringing you the content, be sure to go to CoyoteTrappingSchool.com. We've got an online store there where we have some Coyote merchandise. So if you need a lucky trapping hat, we got you covered there. If you need a little more luck on the trap line, got some Coyote Trapping School hats, shirts, gloves, bags. We also carry some Minnesota trap line products, baits, lures, and urines. Top quality stuff that I use on my trap line every year, and also sell those in packages. So if you're interested in getting started and you don't really know what baits or lures to use, you can buy one of the packages that we've got, that I've got kind of pre-selected. That's a great starting point to get out there and start catching game. Also, if you're new to trapping and want to learn more about it, want a clear, concise, and central location to learn how to do it, the Coyote Trapping 101 course that I put together takes you from start to finish, from the bottom up. So far, what gear you need, how to set a trap, where to set traps, and how to set your traps, and even what to do after you catch your animal, your coyote, skin it, marketing your furs, and all that. Like I said, all that's in one central location. If you're tired of trying to piece together and part together YouTube videos and forum comments and different things, go to this one central place. Soon we'll be adding different species: raccoon, bobcat, beaver, otter, fox, to try to make that a well-rounded trapping library, not just specifically coyote trapping, but if you're interested in trapping, that's the place that you can go to and watch the videos that you need when you need them on your time, and learn specifically how to get started trapping. So be sure that's also on the website at Coyote Trapping School. Be sure to check that out, and I appreciate y'all following along. I appreciate the support, and I hope y'all are killing it on the trap line. Good luck this season.